They told you to follow the rules, to fit in, to play it safe. And in doing so, they handed you a script, a quiet life of mediocrity. But somewhere deep within you, there's a spark that won't be silenced, a voice that whispers louder than the applause of others. You were born for something greater. See, the moment you begin chasing approval, you surrender your power. You trade your vision for validation, your potential for permission. And here's the truth they don't want you to hear. The world doesn't reward the ones who wait to be accepted. It rewards the ones who decide to become. Every breakthrough, every invention, every empire ever built, it began not with applause, but with resistance. The greatest minds in history were once ridiculed, misunderstood, even rejected by the very society they later transformed. Not because they were looking to please anyone, but because they were determined to pursue a vision only they could see. Let me challenge you with this. Whose dream are you really living? Is it yours, or is it a carefully edited version that fits neatly into someone else's expectations? Because while you're busy collecting likes, approval, and polite applause, your destiny is collecting dust. Approval is a drug. The more you chase it, the more it owns you. It manipulates your choices, stifles your creativity, and chains your ambition to the shallow opinions of others. But dreams? Dreams liberate you. They challenge you to rise, to risk, to fail, to rise again. Dreams ask you to become the kind of person worthy of the future you envision. You were not designed to blend in. You were crafted to stand out. But standing out takes courage. It takes the strength to walk alone, to believe when no one else does, to persist when everything screams to quit. Because dreamers are builders, and builders don't wait for applause before laying the first brick. The real tragedy is not in failing, but in never daring to try, because you feared someone might not approve. Let that sink in. The cemetery is filled with untold ideas, abandoned visions, and dreams buried beneath the weight of what will they think. So here's the lesson. Approval is temporary, but purpose is eternal. When you chase your dream, you tap into a force greater than fear, stronger than rejection, more powerful than doubt. You don't need permission to be great. You need decision. And the moment you choose to stop seeking acceptance and start seeking alignment with your calling, everything changes. You'll be criticized. You'll be misunderstood, but you'll also be unstoppable. Because a person on fire with purpose doesn't need applause. They become the spark others didn't know they were waiting for. So stop asking for permission. Stop shrinking to fit into spaces you were meant to outgrow. There's a dream with your name on it, and the only thing standing between you and it is the lie that says you need to be liked, to be legendary. Chase the vision, embrace the struggle, burn the script they handed you and write your own. Because the moment you stop chasing approval, you start becoming unforgettable. Are you ready to stop asking and start becoming? Here are 6 key points from the speech, Chase Dreams, Not Approval. Approval seeks permission, dreams demand purpose. Chasing approval makes you dependent on others' opinions, while chasing dreams aligns you with your deeper calling and personal power. True vision often begins in isolation. Great ideas and breakthroughs are rarely understood at first. Real dreamers are willing to walk alone before others see their value. Fitting in kills greatness. When you live to meet others' expectations, you shrink your potential. You were not made to blend in, but to stand out and lead. Approval is temporary. Purpose is eternal. The praise of others fades, but living in alignment with your dream creates lasting impact and fulfillment. Courage is the currency of dreamers. Achieving your vision requires bold decisions, resilience through failure, and the strength to be misunderstood. Your legacy begins when you stop asking for permission. The moment you stop seeking to be liked and start moving with conviction, you unlock the power to become unforgettable. Would you like a short video script or caption to go along with these points? When you chase approval, you unknowingly place your identity in someone else's hands. You begin to shape your actions, words, and even dreams around what will be accepted, liked, or applauded. Approval becomes the measuring stick, and soon you're no longer living a life that's true to you. You're living a performance, waiting for others to clap before you take the next step. This is dangerous, not because approval is wrong, but because it is unpredictable and fleeting. People change. Their opinions shift. What they applaud today, they may criticize tomorrow. And if your sense of worth and direction is tied to their validation, you'll be constantly swayed by forces you can't control. On the other hand, dreams are born from within. They are tied not to applause, but to purpose. When you chase your dream, you are guided by something more stable, more powerful, and far more personal. You stop seeking permission to be who you are and start aligning yourself with who you were created to become. Purpose gives you clarity. It provides inner strength when there's no external support. While approval feeds your ego, purpose feeds. The reason most people hesitate to chase dreams is because dreams require ownership. You can't blame others if it fails. You can't hide behind the crowd. You have to show up every day, even when no one notices, believes in you, or cheers you on. Approval seeking is safer because it gives the illusion of belonging. It tells you, do what they expect and you'll be accepted. But at what cost? When you betray your own calling for applause, you may gain acceptance, but you lose authenticity. And eventually, the quiet pain of that compromise begins to erode your confidence and joy. The truth is, people who changed the world, the innovators, creators, leaders, were rarely chasing approval. In fact, they often disrupted it. They said, I see something different. I feel something deeper. I believe in something bigger. And they pursued it, even when no one else understood. That's not arrogance. That's alignment with purpose. When you're chasing your dream, you don't need the crowd to believe in you because you believe in the mission. Approval will always demand that you fit in, but purpose will demand that you rise above. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop chasing approval and start living your dream with full authenticity, that's when the right kind of approval often follows. People are drawn to those who are driven, clear, and unshaken, not because they're trying to be liked, but because they're living in truth. So the choice is clear. You can keep trying to win everyone's applause, or you can live a life so full of purpose that you no longer need it. One path leads to exhaustion. The other leads to legacy. Which one will you choose? Every great dream begins in silence. Not applause, not recognition, but solitude. That uncomfortable space where no one else sees what you see. This is the place where vision is born. It's where you begin to believe in something that hasn't happened yet, something that doesn't make sense to the world around you. And that's why in the early stages of any meaningful dream, you will often find yourself walking alone. Isolation isn't a sign that you're wrong. It's often proof that you're ahead. The greatest minds in history, the most impactful inventors, artists, and leaders were rarely understood at first. Their ideas challenged norms, broke patterns, and threatened the comfort zones of others. So they were doubted, dismissed, even ridiculed. Not because their vision lacked value, but because it demanded a level of faith and foresight most people aren't willing to develop. When you carry a dream, especially one that is bold and unconventional, don't expect everyone to understand it. You might share your idea and be met with blank stares or skeptical questions. You might feel the sting of silence when you expected support. But that silence is not rejection, it's refinement. It's the process of learning to believe in your dream even when there's no external validation. That's where inner strength is forged. That's where resilience is born. The mistake many make is assuming that just because no one claps for them now, they're not on the right path. So they water down their dream. They shrink it, adjust it, mold it into something more acceptable, something others can digest more easily. And in doing so, they trade brilliance for belonging. But a dream that fits neatly into the current mold isn't a dream that changes the world. What you must realize is this: visionaries are always lonely at the beginning, but loneliness doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're leading. You're stepping into territory where few have dared to go, and that path by nature is narrow, not because you're not worthy of company, but because most people haven't yet developed the courage to walk it. There's power in being misunderstood. It forces you to trust your own inner voice. It teaches you to move forward not because of approval, but because of conviction. And that kind of conviction is unstoppable, because once your dream begins to take shape, once your vision turns into results, the same people who doubted you will start to ask how you did it. They'll respect the courage you had to believe in something before it made sense. So if you find yourself alone right now, if your dream makes you feel different, isolated, or even strange, understand this: you're in good company. Every great achievement was once a lonely road. Don't fear the silence. Embrace it. Let it sharpen your focus, strengthen your faith, and purify your motives. Because when the dream finally becomes reality, it won't be because everyone believed in you. It will be because you did. There is a cost to fitting in, and it's far greater than most people realize. In the pursuit of being accepted, many slowly trade their uniqueness for comfort, their creativity for conformity. The world teaches you early: blend in, don't disrupt, stay within the lines, and so, out of fear of standing out, you silence your ideas, dull your voice, and wear masks just to be seen as normal. But here's the truth: fitting in kills greatness. Nothing remarkable ever came from playing it safe. The very thing that makes you different is often the seed of your success. Your unique perspective, your unusual way of thinking, your bold vision, those are not weaknesses, they are strengths in disguise. But when you strive to fit in, you bury those traits under layers of false identity. You begin to live a life edited by fear, shaped not by who you are, but by who you think others want you to be. And over time, that kind of living becomes exhausting. You wake up feeling like something is missing. Not because you aren't working hard, not because you aren't achieving anything, but because you're not being true to yourself. Greatness doesn't grow in the soil of imitation. It requires authenticity, originality, and the courage to be seen fully and unapologetically. Most people are not rejected because they aren't talented or capable. They're rejected because they remind others of what's possible. Your boldness might intimidate someone else's fear. Your dreams might expose someone else's complacency, and that can make people uncomfortable. But don't let that discomfort cause you to dim your light. You weren't born to shrink. You were born to shine. If you look at every world changer, every pioneer, every legend, they all had one thing in common. They stopped trying to fit in. They refused to be shaped by the expectations of the crowd. They chose purpose over popularity, vision over validation, and in doing so, they carved paths that had never been walked before. That's not easy. It requires rejection, isolation, and sometimes even ridicule. But it's the only way to become unforgettable. Fitting in may bring short-term comfort, but standing out brings long-term impact. One leads to safety, the other leads to legacy. The people who truly make a difference are the ones who decide that their dream is more important than their image. They stop asking, will they like me? And start asking, will this move me closer to who I'm meant to be? The truth is, you can never fully embrace your purpose if you're addicted to acceptance. Because purpose demands sacrifice. It demands that you walk into rooms where you don't blend in, not to be arrogant, but to be authentic. Your destiny was never meant to look like everyone else's. And the moment you stop trying to match their pace, style, or approval, you begin to run in the direction of your own greatness. So ask yourself, is fitting in worth the price of never fully becoming who you were created to be? The world doesn't need more copies. It needs originals, bold enough to stand out, strong enough to stand alone, and brave enough to stay true. Approval feels good. It gives you a temporary sense of value, a momentary high that tells you you're enough, but only for a moment. Then it fades. You find yourself chasing the next compliment, the next pat on the back, the next round of applause. That's the trap. Approval is fleeting. It satisfies the ego, but leaves the soul hungry. It's a reward system based on how well you meet someone else's expectations, not how true you are to your own purpose. Purpose, on the other hand, is timeless. It's not based on who sees you, supports you, or praises you. It's based on who you are at your core. When you're living on purpose, your actions have meaning, even if no one is watching. You wake up with clarity. You work with conviction. You press forward not because people are cheering you on, but because something inside you refuses to settle. One of the greatest mistakes people make is confusing attention with fulfillment. Just because you're being noticed doesn't mean you're being true to your purpose. There are plenty of people who are widely approved of, who get likes, applause, validation, yet feel empty when they're alone. Why? Because approval is conditional. It can be taken away. One wrong move, one unpopular opinion, and the same people who praise you can turn away. When your sense of self is built on approval, you live in fear of losing it. You become a prisoner to public opinion, constantly adjusting, performing, pleasing. But purpose is different. Purpose anchors you. It doesn't shift with trends or change with opinions. It asks hard questions and demands honest answers. Why are you here? What impact are you meant to make? Who are you becoming in the process? Purpose challenges you to go deeper than surface-level success. It requires you to serve, to grow, to stretch, to endure. And here's the most powerful truth. When you live with purpose, you often gain a different kind of approval, one that lasts. It's not loud, flashy, or instant. It's the kind that comes from people who see your consistency, your integrity, your commitment to something bigger than yourself. It's the respect that's earned, not requested. It's the admiration that follows people who didn't chase popularity, but chased truth. Choosing purpose over approval won't always feel comfortable. You may lose followers. You may disappoint people who expected you to stay small, to stay silent, to stay safe. But you'll gain something far more valuable: alignment. You'll start to feel whole because you'll no longer be split between who you are and who you pretend to be. The applause may come, or it may not, but that won't matter. Because when you're living in purpose, the applause becomes irrelevant. You're no longer performing, you're producing. You're not surviving on compliments. You're sustained by conviction. And that shift changes everything. So trade the need to be liked for the courage to be aligned. Stop measuring your worth by the noise around you and start measuring it by the truth within you. Approval fades, but purpose will carry you for a lifetime. Courage is the price of every dream worth chasing. Not talent, not connections, not luck. It's courage. The invisible force that drives you to act when everything in you wants to hold back. It's the decision to move forward when fear says stop, when doubt says you can't, and when comfort says stay where you are. Without courage, even the most brilliant vision remains nothing more than a fantasy. But with courage, ordinary people become extraordinary. Dreams are demanding. They don't hand themselves over easily. They require you to risk being wrong, to risk being rejected, and to risk starting without having all the answers. That's why most people never fully pursue what they are capable of. Not because they lack skill, but because they lack courage. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect support system, the perfect plan, but that moment rarely comes. Courage is what pushes you to begin even when conditions aren't perfect. You will fail. You will be criticized. You will face seasons where nothing seems to be working. And in those moments, it won't be motivation that keeps you going. It will be courage. The courage to try again, to rise from failure without losing faith, to believe in what you carry, even when it looks like it's not working. That kind of courage isn't loud or flashy. It's quiet, steady, and relentless. Courage means saying yes to your dream even when you're scared. It's speaking up when silence would be easier. It's standing alone in your conviction when the crowd walks the other way. The people who leave a legacy are the ones who had every reason to quit and didn't. They didn't wait for external assurance. They moved forward with internal resolve. Many people underestimate what courage truly looks like. They think it's about big, dramatic moments, but most often, courage shows up in the small daily decisions. To keep showing up, to keep learning, to keep building, even when no one notices. It's not about the applause, it's about the commitment. That's where real transformation begins. And here's something most people miss. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's movement in spite of it. Fear is natural. It will always be present at the edge of growth. But courage acknowledges the fear and decides to move anyway. Each act of courage builds another layer of strength. Over time, what once terrified you becomes familiar territory. You grow not just in what you do, but in who you become. You'll never live the life you're capable of if you avoid everything that scares you. Playing it safe may protect you from failure, but it also shields you from your full potential. The cost of safety is often the death of your dream. So if your dream scares you, good. That means it matters. That means it's bigger than you. Let that fear become fuel. Let it remind you that what you're building is worth the risk, because in the end, courage won't just move you forward. It will make you unstoppable. There comes a moment in every person's journey where they must decide, will I keep waiting for permission, or will I move forward with purpose? That moment is the turning point between living a life of quiet potential or stepping into undeniable legacy. As long as you keep asking for approval, whether silently or out loud, you delay your own becoming. You hesitate, you shrink, you wait for someone else to validate what you already know deep down. You were made for more. The truth is, no one is coming to officially approve your dream. No one is going to hand you a certificate saying, now you're ready. And the longer you wait for that green light from others, whether it's from family, friends, mentors, or society, the longer your potential stays locked up. Legacy begins the moment you stop asking for permission to be great and start acting as if greatness was always yours to claim. People who leave a mark on the world don't wait to be chosen. They choose themselves. They look at what they've been given, their skills, their scars, their passions, and they make something with it. They don't wait until they feel completely confident. They don't wait until the crowd applauds. They take the first step with faith, trusting that the path will become clearer as they walk it. When you stop asking for permission, you stop outsourcing your power. You no longer depend on someone else's yes to pursue what's burning in your heart, and that shift changes everything. You stop living reactively and start leading intentionally. You become the author of your story instead of the editor of someone else's script. You set the pace, you define the mission, and you show others what's possible simply by living in truth. Of course, not everyone will understand. Some will question your boldness. Others will feel threatened by your freedom. But that's not your problem to fix. It's a sign you're no longer playing by the rules of small thinking. When you stop asking for permission, you break the unspoken agreement to stay in line, to stay quiet, to stay safe. And in doing so, you make room for innovation, disruption, and true impact. Legacy is not about popularity. It's not about being liked. It's about being authentic. It's about making decisions that align with who you are, even when they confuse the people around you. The world remembers the ones who moved differently, thought boldly, and acted with conviction, not the ones who waited for everyone to agree before they started. You don't need permission to be powerful. You don't need approval to be effective. What you need is clarity of purpose and the courage to act on it, consistently, relentlessly, unapologetically. The minute you stop trying to be chosen and decide to show up anyway, the game changes. The energy shifts. You unlock something that was waiting on the other side of your hesitation. So stop asking, start becoming. Your legacy doesn't need a stamp of approval, it needs action. The moment you move with authority, the world takes notice, not because you asked it to, but because purpose always commands attention. Here's a powerful conclusion that ties together the entire message of the speech, Chase Dreams, Not Approval, in a compelling and motivational tone. The truth is simple but powerful. You were not created to chase applause, approval, or permission. You were created to dream, to build, to lead, and to leave a mark that outlives you. Approval is fleeting, but purpose is forever. The people who change the world are not the ones who were liked by everyone. They are the ones who dared to walk alone, who stood tall in rooms where they didn't fit in, and who followed a vision no one else could see. You don't need another pat on the back to get started. You don't need to be invited to your own destiny. The door has already been opened. It's just waiting on you to walk through. Every moment you spend seeking validation is a moment stolen from your dream. Let today be the day you stop performing and start producing. Stop blending in and start standing out. Stop waiting and start becoming. Because in the end, your life won't be measured by how many people liked you. It will be measured by how many lives you touched, how much truth you lived, and how boldly you chased the dream you were born to fulfill. So go, not with fear, not with hesitation, but with fire. Chase the dream, leave the applause behind, and watch the world catch up to the vision you never stopped believing in.